This is the second part of the extended version of the self-assessment test to evaluate your grammar for IELTS and identify what grammar you need to learn before taking the test. In this video, we will cover questions from 26 to 50, and once again, after each question, I will provide not only the correct answer but also a short explanation of why this is the correct answer. If you want to speed it up and you don't want to hear the explanation, then check out the description box below and you will find a link to a shorter version of this self-assessment test where I provide only the correct answer without grammatical explanation. So let's get the ball rolling and answer the questions from 26 to 50.
There is a new boutique. The end of the road.
And the correct answer is there is a new boutique at the end of the road. Here you need to learn the use of prepositions. Unfortunately, there is no one unifying rule and you need to learn nouns and verbs together with the prepositions. Therefore, the best strategy is not to learn words in isolation, but to learn collocations or phrases to see and to remember how you can use these words in a sentence.
There are millions of people around the world. The football match live on YouTube.
And the correct answer is there are millions of people around the world watching the football match live on YouTube. Here, the present participle watching means the same as a relative clause would. So, for example, I could say there are millions of people around the world who are watching the football match live on YouTube. For example, I can say they found pieces of equipment lying on the sea floor. It's the same as saying they found pieces of equipment which were lying on the sea floor.
They finally find a cure for the disease which had been thought to be incurable.
And the correct answer is they finally managed to find a cure for the disease which had been thought to be incurable. Here we want to emphasize that it was difficult for them to achieve. That's why we use managed to and not simply could or were able to.
He failed his exam, so he very hard at all.
And the correct answer is he failed his exam, so he can't have studied very hard at all. Here we can use a modal verb such as may or might or could or can't or must plus have plus past participle to express a possibility about a past event. For example, if I say he can't have studied hard, I have very strong evidence that he didn't study hard. For example, since he failed his exam, I can assume that he didn't study hard, and I can say since he failed his exam, he can't have studied hard. The same, for example, you can say he must have hit his head during the attack. For example, there is a strong evidence that he hit his head during the attack. Or he could have had a wife and children. There is some evidence, there is a possibility that he had a wife and children. Or if I say he can't have been married, then I mean that there is strong evidence that he wasn't married.
When you write your research paper, you copy ideas from other papers or books without referencing them properly.
And the correct answer is when you write your research paper, you mustn't copy ideas from other papers and books without referencing them properly. Mustn't means that something is not allowed. For example, if I say you mustn't wait here, it's not allowed to wait in this particular space or room. Mustn't is not the same as don't have to. And don't have to means there is no need to do something. For example, I can say, I didn't have to worry about work permits when I stayed there. There was no need for me to get an extra work permit.
What? In order to get a residence permit in Germany.
And the correct answer is what do I need to do in order to get a work permit in Germany? When we are referring to instructional rules or laws, we use have to or need to. For example, you have to get a work permit before you go, or you need to get a work permit before you go. We use must when the obligation comes from the speaker, him or herself. For example, I must finish this report today, or you must invite me to see you or to visit you. Again, the obligation comes from the speaker. You must invite me to visit you. And ought to is used to provide a suggestion or to give a piece of advice. For example, I can say, you ought to take lots of passport size photos with you.
Doctors have me to exercise regularly.
And the correct answer is doctors have advised me to exercise regularly. There are certain verbs that you need to learn not in isolation, but in a sentence, or at least as a collocation. If I were to use insist here, I would say doctors have insisted that I exercise regularly, or doctors have insisted on my exercising regularly. The same with the verb suggest. Doctors have suggested that I exercise regularly.
This newspaper report, property prices have doubled in the past decade.
And the correct answer is according to this newspaper report. We use according to mean as stated by. For example, according to our records, you owe us $130. Or according to Sarah, they are getting on well at the moment. Apparently is used when the real situation is different from what you thought it was. For example, I can say, I thought they were married, but apparently they are not. Or, I thought she was 10, but apparently she is 14. You can also use apparently to say that you read about something or you were told about something, but you are not sure if it's true or not. For example, I can say apparently it's going to rain today, or apparently he has had enough of England and is going back to Australia. We use supposedly when we have been told something, but we are not sure if it's true or not. Again, we actually doubt the truth of this statement. For example, I can say the tickets are supposedly in the mail. I don't really believe that this is truth. Or supposedly they were all grief stricken by the news of his death. I am not sure if they were grief stricken or if they were grieving at all.
They encouraged back to school.
And the correct answer is they encouraged him to go back to school. After the verb encourage, we use somebody and full infinitive. For example, you can say the new teaching method encourages children to think for themselves. Or, my parents have always encouraged me to pursue a career in medicine.
What will you do if?
And the correct answer is what will you do if you don't get this job? Here we use a conditional sentence. We are referring to a real possible result in the future. And in the if clause, in this case, we always use present tenses, usually the present simple as in our case. For example, you can also say if you leave your money in the bank, you won't earn any interest.
We take measures to stop deforestation, there will be serious consequences for the planet.
And the correct answer is unless we take measures to stop deforestation. Unless means the same as if not. For example, I can say most animals do not attack unless they are provoked, meaning most animals don't attack if they are not provoked. Or you can also say you can't get a job unless you have experience. Can't get a job if you don't have experience. Provided that means the same as if, but it's more formal and is usually used in written English. For example, you won't lose any money provided that you think of it as a long-term investment, meaning if you think of it as a long-term investment. And in case of means the same as if. For example, I can say you should keep this reference number in case there are troubles or in case of emergency, meaning that it is possible there might be an emergency.
If I didn't have to work tonight,
And the correct answer is if I didn't have to work tonight, I would be able to attend your party. Here we are talking about an unreal situation in the present, an unreal situation in the future, meaning that I have to work tonight and I will not be able to attend your party. For example, I can also say, if I could take a gap year, I would travel around the world. I don't have an opportunity to take a gap year. I'm not taking a gap year. Therefore, I'm not going to travel. Or you can also say, if I went on a trip, I wouldn't have any money left. I'm not going on a trip, and therefore I will have some money left.
I wish that baby crying. It's really annoying me.
And the correct answer is I wish that baby would stop crying. We use the structure I wish plus someone plus would and infinitive to show that we want someone to change their behavior. For example, I can say, I wish they would stop speaking so loudly. We can also use the same structure if we want to show that we want something to happen. For example, I can say, I wish this holiday would go on forever.
I'm aiming a band 7 in IELTS.
And the correct answer is I'm aiming for a band 7 in IELTS. You need to learn verbs together with their prepositions because prepositions used in English may not be the same as in your mother language. Therefore, it's important to learn verbs together with the prepositions. Aim is used with the preposition for, to aim for a goal. We are aiming for a 50% share of the German market. After the verb to aim, you can also use a full infinitive. For example, we are aiming to arrive at around noon. Or you can say they aim to reform the government.
He doesn't have any knowledge. The matter.
And the correct answer is he doesn't have any knowledge of the matter. Once again, just like with the verbs, you need to remember nouns with their prepositions. In this case, we always say to have no knowledge of something, to have little knowledge of, or to have some knowledge of something. For example, he has no knowledge of fashion, or she has some knowledge of cooking, or he has little knowledge of history.
The doctor performed his surgery has just resigned.
And the correct answer is the doctor who performed his surgery has just resigned. We use the relative pronoun who to refer to people. For example, he called James, who was a good friend as well as a family doctor. And we use which to refer to objects. For example, we all have principles which we believe in? Or is this the film in which they fly to the moon?
Germany's oldest tennis club is located in Heidelberg.
And the correct answer is Germany's oldest tennis club, comma, which was founded in 1890, comma, is located in Heidelberg. In this case, we separate the relative clause with commas because it's a non-defining relative clause. It adds additional, extra, non-essential information to the main idea. In Heidelberg and in the whole of Germany, there is only one tennis club, which is the oldest of all. And we don't need any extra information to identify this tennis club out of all others. The main idea is the oldest tennis club in Germany is located in Heidelberg. Let me give you one more example. The burglar got into the house through the kitchen window, comma, which had been left open by the owners. If I say the kitchen window, I don't need any extra information to identify this particular window because with the article there, I already understand there was only one window in the kitchen. Everything else is non-essential for me. It's additional information to identify this particular window. However, if I had the burglars got through a kitchen window which had been left open by the owners, here which had been left open by the owners is essential information. It helps to identify this particular window because apparently there were several windows in the kitchen and the burglars got in through the one which had been left open. The same, for instance, if I say, I applied to the university, comma, which is located in the city center. In this case, what I mean is that there is only one university in the city. This additional extra information, which is located in the city center, doesn't help the listener to identify the university. The listener has already understood there is only one university in the city. However, if I say, I applied to the university, which is in the city center, in this case, which is in the city center, is a defining relative clause because it helps the listener to identify, okay, what university you applied to, because there are several universities in the city and they are all located in different parts of the city. So once you want to identify this particular university, you have to add extra information. For example, its location.
Many children nowadays have unhealthy diets. It's possible that this is because their parents do not have time to cook nutritious meals at home.
And the correct answer is it is possible that this is because their parents don't have enough time to cook nutritious meals at home. In this case, we use introductory it to introduce the sentence. It's very common in such expressions as it seems that, it appears that, it is common that, it is possible that, it is clear that, or it is important to note that, and it's often followed by that clause. For example, it is important to note that the respondents were interviewed at the supermarket, or it is clear that women do most of the shopping. When we use what to introduce the sentence, we need the subject right after it. For example, I can say, what I like the most is that you can see the product before making a purchasing decision. Or what he fears the most is losing his grandparents.
We, as a community, need to find ways to save and our youth.
And the correct answer is we as a community need to find ways to save and protect our children. We don't need to repeat the same information twice. For example, you can also say the students will researching and planning their presentations instead of saying the students will researching and the students will planning their presentations, or instead of saying the students will researching and they will planning their presentations.
I can't give you a lift on Tuesday because on that day.
And the correct answer is I can't give you a lift on Tuesday because I am having my car fixed on that day. Here we use the structure to have something done when you refer to a situation in which you pay somebody to perform a service for you. For example, you can say you will need to have your photo taken. Definitely you will pay somebody to take a photo of you. You can also use it in the past. I had my photo taken, or I got my photo taken yesterday.
Glass bottles in Germany.
And the correct answer is glass bottles are recycled in Germany. Here we use the passive voice to show that bottles undergo a certain process and they don't perform this process themselves, of course.
Learning a foreign language has a number of cognitive benefits. It can expand your employment opportunities.
And the correct answer is in addition, it can expand your employment opportunities. Here we are linking similar ideas, while however and despite it, I used to link opposing ideas. For example, I can say this is one possible solution, however, there are others.
I can't attend the meeting as I'll be on a business trip next week.
And the correct answer is unfortunately, I can't attend the meeting as I will be on a business trip next week. Here we use unfortunately to express our regret about a certain situation. Personally is used to express your opinion about something. You can also use personally speaking. For example, I can say, personally, I think the show will be a great success. Or personally speaking, I think the show will be a great success. Frankly or quite frankly is also used to express your opinion and also to express it in a direct way, especially when your opinion can offend or upset somebody. For example, I can say, frankly, I don't care, or quite frankly, I think the whole situation is ridiculous.
I think it's crucial to plan your essay carefully before you start writing it.
And the correct answer is personally, I think it's crucial to plan your essay carefully before you start writing it. In this case, we use personally to express our opinion about something. Interestingly is used when we find a fact or a situation interesting or curious. For example, I can say, interestingly, these animals rarely fight, meaning that I would expect these animals to fight with each other quite often.
I would that all children need to attend school.
And the correct answer is I would argue that all children need to attend school. We need to use the verb here. Argument is a noun. For example, I can say I didn't want to get into the argument. And arguing is a gerund. For example, I can say I heard them arguing late at night. This is the end of this grammar review. I would be very happy to hear from you and to know what aspects of grammar you find the most challenging. Please leave it in the comment section below, and I will do my best to make a separate video covering the most challenging aspects of grammar. Till next time, and remember, perseverance is the key to your IELTS success. Bye bye.